fishing village that I don't know how long it was there before Jesus was there, but he actually spent quite a bit of time here. Yeah, it's and yeah, I guess we as Americans always think of mangers, these wooden things with straw, and that's a real manger. It's stone. So they would have put Jesus in one of those, not in the things that we think of. This is at McGill.
Talking about rocker.
Yeah.
Rock the baby to sleep.
And the only other pictures I have today, this is an old tomb in Jerusalem of, I think it's one of Herod's family. And I guess when I always thought about, they rolled the stone in front of Jesus' tomb, I think of this thing like was following Indiana Jones out of the temple, one of those big things. But it's actually one of those. So it's got another, I guess this is a better view.
Oh, and it rolls.
So yeah, it's kind of behind the arch there, so it can't be taken in and out, and they just roll like that.
Did they then backfill with dirt, something like that, rocks?
I don't know. It would make sense that would make it a lot harder and you can see that, there is dirt there.
How many people would it take to roll one of them away?
I don't know, it's hard to see the scale, but this is probably about like that, so it's you couldn't lift one.
Yeah. So it would take like a lot of people to roll that away.
Well,
to
plus
bury
it was
something.
probably locked in place with the dirt or rocks or whatever they were going to, if they were that concerned with someone stealing the body.
Well, no, I mean,
In Jesus' case.
how'd they roll it away to put the body in and then roll it back? Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, it's not sealed up until after you put the body in, so it was open, they put Jesus in, they closed it, and probably filled in the dirt to lock it in place. Because otherwise, that would make it even more miraculous.
So I guess that's all I have for today.
We'll be continuing to cover perfect verbs. In this chapter, you will encounter more weak verbs. And let's see what they are to bring us. What are the weak verbs in Hebrew? Weak verbs are those verbs having one or more weak root consonants. We already discovered there might be a first guttural, second guttural, A, and so on. So that would make them weak because they would usually be susceptible to change or vocal reductions and so on. Weak verbs. The presence of a weak consonant in a verbal root can cause changes in the vocalization or spelling of the verb. So these are two major changes that can occur. Either the letter can be dropped out or the vocalization will change. Okay. There are three types of weak verbs that we'll cover. Well, actually, we'll cover more types, but in this particular section of this class. First guttural, second guttural, and third hey or ein. The first guttural weak verbs have a guttural for the first root consonant, such as in amar, actually amad. You see ein is the first guttural. Amad means to stand. But this is one of the examples of first guttural weak verbs. The second guttural, identical in the explanation to it, only the second root consonant is the guttural one, and in this case it's bahar, which is het. Is the second guttural consonant in this one. Bahar means to choose, if any of you wonders. And a third hey, of course, or a third ein, would be represented by the verbs like lakach, which means to take, or shama'a, which means to hear. The famous prayer of Jewish people, Shema Israel, comes from this verb. Only Shema is actually a command, listen, Israel, where Shama means to listen, actually, to listen. Okay, so these are examples of these types of weak verbs. These three types are studied together because they exhibit similar types of changes if we compare them to a strong verb paradigm. We will be studying other weak verbs in a later section of the same chapter. They will be in a different subdivision because the changes are different. But we group these three together. Of course, when we approach the weak verbs and paradigms, we have to recall the rules of Shva. And one of those rules state that guttural cannot take a vocal Shva, but prefers the reduced ah type vowel. In this case, it's hatef patach. We'll see it in the examples later on. We should note one thing, that despite changes in vocalization due to the presence of guttural consonant, the perfect subformatives, which are those suffixes that form the conjugation itself, do not change. So if you know those pronominal suffixes, they'll basically stay the same. Okay? And we'll see it in paradigms that will appear later. And actually, there is a paradigm for all three types of the verbs that we have just mentioned in comparison to the strong verb form. They're fairly similar looking. Sorry. Come back. Okay. They're similar to each other in the way that they contain same subformatives, which are suffixes. But there are certain changes going on. Of course, if you add suffix like tem, then there should be a proper tonic reduction, and you'll see that the first vowel is reduced from kametz to hatef patach. And that's what we were talking about as far as the first gutturals go. They usually do not take shva, so they prefer either kametz or reduced kametz, or reduced first vowel to hatef patach. Second guttural, you will see the similar things are going on. There's a proper tonic reduction going on. The third hey, you'll see that hey is interchanged with tau in a lot of instances, and similar things are going on. So basically they act similar in the way they're changed throughout the conjugation. And of course you'll see the strong verb call perfect to the right of the paradigm, in the right corner. And this will help you to compare them. I think you have that in your textbook, I believe. And you also have that on the outlines in the CD that came with the textbook. Third, aleph weak verbs. This is another type of weak verbs. Of course, it's not in the same three categories that we have discussed earlier, but these weak verbs have aleph for the third root consonant, as in matzah. Matzah means to find. So what happens in these verbs? We have to recall the rules of pronouncing aleph. We know that it is silent when there's no vowel under it. So it's got to be either glottal stop or silent stop, and then we continue reading on. Sometimes we can take the vowel point from the preceding consonant and kind of continue it throughout that word to fill in a blank. For example, hatat. See, we can transfer that hata'at, we can say that way, or we can say hata with a silence when it comes to aleph. And hatat means sin. So, yes, maybe there's some magic rule about pronouncing this word. You have to have a minute of silence before pronouncing the last consonant because of sadness for the sin you have committed. Okay. Third aleph, weak verbs paradigm. Well, let's see how it's compared to the strong perfect. First of all, what you should note is the second vowel under, forgot the name of the letter. Tzadeh. Is not pathach, it's actually comments. So that's a first giveaway that this is a different type of verb. And of course, you'll have third aleph also. That will be a pointer. There is a comments missing under third feminine singular. It's actually matzah. Then matzata, matzat, matzati, matzu. There's also comments missing there. Metzatem or metzatem, 10. Matzah, nu. See, you kind of have to make a little pause there before continuing to read the word to be true to its pronunciation. Suffixes are the same. The vowel patterns change slightly due to long vowels added onto the end of the verb. You see that? There's nothing very unusual going on, but it's kind of all verbs of the same type that have third aleph would follow the similar paradigm. Okay. Third, hey, weak verbs. These weak verbs have hey for the third root consonant, as in bana, meaning to build. Okay. The changes in this weak class are considered considerable compared to strong verb paradigm. That means there are more changes in this paradigm than in any of the four preceding in this lesson. The most significant change in this paradigm is the loss of the final hey in every form of the perfect. So, which means you'll have to discover what is the root of the verb. You'll have to find out what is the verb that you're looking at, because there's no final hey in it. There will be 2 letters constituting the root of the verb, and the probably subformative, which is suffix or pronominal suffix. What are the examples? Well, let's look at the paradigm for the verb bana. Bana, also seeing this type of weak verb, comments instead of comments pathach combination in the vocal. See that? Banta, banita, banit, baniti, banu, benitem, beniten, baninu. So slight changes here from the previous paradigms that we have learned. Again, these paradigms will have to be either closely noted or memorized. In your textbook, it will actually see which paradigm to memorize. And I assume you will find that phrase in italics. Doubly weak verbs, what are those? We already encountered them in our homeworks for today. It could be a first guttural and third hey. It could be a first guttural and second guttural, or it could be both. You can encounter either or of the 2. What are the paradigms for those? So let's look. Ra'ah, which is second guttural and third hey, or Allah, which is first guttural and third hey. Here are the paradigms for them. Ra'ah, Ra'ata, Ra'ita, Ra'it, Ra'iti, Ra'u, Re'it,